हरे कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण। आवाज क्यों नहीं आ रहा? बंद किया था। सब बंद क्या हो जाता? हेलो 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 हेलो। हरे कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण। ये ऊपर हरे रहा।
Ready? Start. Good evening. Today we are embarking upon yet another dimension of faith. In the pastimes of Sri Ramayana, there is this strategic point where the entire entourage of Lord Ramachandra, all the Vanara ministers of Lord Ramachandra, the entire army, all of them have gathered at that one point. The banks of and various strategies were being churned out. How the entire army will move towards Lanka. So yes, it is explained by Valmiki that Lord Ramachandra stood meditating, praying to the ocean god. Lord Ramachandra was highlighting the most evolved, polished, genial, loving behavioral patterns. And therefore the Lord was on a very humble note meditating and praying. And one day passed, 2 days, 3 days passed. It seemed that inside water the internet connectivity was not good. Or there was a direction of whatever emails were coming were being directed to the spam folder. So anyways, after 3 days, the Lord's anger was aroused. And when the Lord was angry, actually the whole ocean started vaporizing. It was appearing that within minutes there would be no ocean at all. That was the power of Lord Ramachandra. And Varuna, the ocean god, cunning, because he realized his folly, he realized with whom he has so he realized who is the person who was sitting on the banks of the ocean. He's none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Varuna came and he bowed down to Lord Ramachandra and he said, yes, the entire ocean is yours. Whatever you say, we are at your beck and call. We'll give you the way to go. Now this was the scene actually. Now the point was that Lord Ramachandra's army was so huge. So the point is, even if the way is given, how will artillery go? How will the entire weaponry go? It requires it requires no, it requires proper facilities. I mean, so because the entire no, military paraphernalia has to reach along with the army. So everyone was strategizing that a raw way is not enough actually. What we need actually, then they calculated. They came up with the idea that we need to have a 80 miles so that the army can pass very peacefully. And now came the interesting point: how to make a bridge on the ocean. And everyone was conjecturing and thinking what is supposed to be done. And at that point, Sri Hanumanji came up with a eureka idea. He picked up a big rock boulder. He engraved the name of Lord Ramachandra, Jai Shri Ram, Shri Ram. And chanting Jai Shri Ram, he threw that rock boulder on the ocean. And lo and behold, the boulder was floating. And this created an enthusiastic sensation in the whole army, because they could figure out the strategy of how they're going to make the bridge actually. And then they were placing mountains and rocks and boulders, and that's how the construction. Where Neela was the architect, I mean the civil engineer who was overseeing the construction, but the construction was, and in this way the army proceeded. The Pataka of Lord Ramachandra's army proceeded forward. So this is a very interesting pastime and a very instructive pastime. The question which startled everyone, and the question which startles us also many times hear or interface this pastime, is that how did the rock float? Anti-gravity, how did the rock float? And Hanumanji answered this question very pragmatically when he was questioned. Hanumanji said, you see, the holy name of the Lord is so powerful that by chanting the names of Lord Ramachandra, what to say of the small ocean in between the Indian peninsula and Lanka. So Hanumanji said that by chanting the holy names of the Lord, by chanting the names of Lord Ramachandra, what to say of crossing the small ocean? One can cross over the ocean of material existence. The insurmountable ocean of material existence can be crossed by the name of Lord Ramachandra. That name cannot make rocks float. That was Srila Hanumanji's faith. That was Srila Hanumanji's faith. And therefore Srila Hanumanji was making the point that Ram se bada hai, Ram ka naam. And that was his faith. It was his faith. So we may say yes, but what was the basis of the foundation of Hanumanji's faith? That basis and foundation is not sentimental. That basis and foundation was Srila Hanumanji's deep knowledge, realization on the aspect that Lord Ramachandra is the ultimate cause behind everything. So many times we are confounded by so many whys in life. Why it is happening, why that is happening, why to believe, why. And all these whys have one answer: because God is the ultimate cause. And Hanumanji knew this perfectly well. So yes, Hanumanji and his comrades, his Vanara comrades, like the civil engineer Neela and so on. So all of them, they were the immediate cause. But Hanumanji knew that Lord Ramachandra is the ultimate cause. So why were the Vanaras victorious? Why they could strike out such an innovation at such a stretched time? Because they knew the ultimate cause. And how all this wonderful arrangement worked out? It worked out because of the inconceivable potency of Lord Ramachandra. So that's why Shastras describe the workings of nature, the arrangements of nature work out because of acintya shakti, inconceivable potency, inconceivable potency. So tracing the ultimate cause and understanding the inconceivable potency are the two threads we want to meditate upon today. It is not very difficult to understand the presence and the hand of the God everywhere. We see and is limited. No matter whatever we do, no matter however hard we try, our concepts are all limited. Our concepts are completely limited. And therefore, nature, the workings of the nature and the universe have always been a package which has been which has been igniting wonder in us. That gives the punchline that yes, behind is the ultimate cause. And this whole arrangement is working through the divine arrangement of the Lord, the acintya shakti of the Lord. So by the way, if we simply look about or if we simply look at how our country is working, if we simply look at how our country is working, we see there is so much of variegatedness, there is so much of freedom, there is so much of so much of individuality that sometimes it becomes very difficult in the whole nation to trace out what is it that people are standing for. Is there any unifying principle or not? Everyone in India seems to be a prime factor. There is no reconciliation many times. Sometimes you will see government offices and now they're working at their own note. You want to drive out anything. Many government offices, they're open at 10 o'clock, but by the time they catch up the opening momentum, it is 11. And by the time they drink tea and come back 11:30, and by the time it becomes 11:30 working starts, and by the time it becomes 12:15, the air of the lunch starts like that, and the air of the lunch goes on till 2 o'clock or so, and then 2:15 the work starts, and and 3:30 the air of the evening tea starts. So by the time it ends it's 4:15, and 4:40 or so the pack up starts for 5 o'clock end time. So we really wonder. One time I remember our one of our properties or one of our hostels actually, so we had a couple of hostels. One of the hostels actually, for some days actually the students were not staying, so it was locked. and I had sent no, and we were no, staying in the other hostel. So I had sent a team of no, some of our students to just go on a patrol, and they went and they explored that the lock was open actually, and there was some amount of thievery. So we traced out. We lost some few thousand rupees. I mean, few thousands worth of itinerary. Anyways, we had put a big lock, and then every day I was sending students for patrolling. After 3 days, what happened? The student who was supposed to go. I mean, I had sent them to go there and go for patrolling, and then come back. So he became a little late in going. He went at 11:30. He explored that the lock was open actually, and there were some people inside doing something. Most likely thieves. So it was a whole ordeal actually, and somehow we caught the thieves actually. So I was finding hard to find the number of the police. Finally, I got the number. I called the police. I said, no, our place, no, thievery. He said, ho gaya thievery. Okay, fine. Tomorrow you can come and no, just register an FIR of what all is lost and all that. You trace out in the night. I said, no, हुआ नहीं है thievery, हो रहा है. I said, हो रहा है. तो नो क्या हो रहा है ना, थीवरी हो रहा है. तो he couldn't compile actually. He said थीवरी हो रहा है, ये क्या हो रहा है ना. और फिर बोले नो क्या हो रहा है, हमारे बिल्डिंग के अंदर हो रहा है. बोले अच्छा तुम्हारे बिल्डिंग के अंदर थीवरी हो रहा है, तुम कहाँ हो ना. ने कहा हम बिल्डिंग के बाहर हैं. बोले बिल्डिंग के बाहर क्या हो रहा है. बोले कुछ नहीं, बिल्डिंग के बाहर चोर चोर का शोर हो रहा है, हमारे लोग कर रहे हैं है ना, और पूरे मोहल्ले का गैदरिंग हो रहा है. और क्या हो रहा है, अंदर चोरी हो रहा है और बाहर शोर चोर हो रहा है ना. तो बोले ये क्या है, ये तो गुत्थी समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. हमने कहा कुछ नहीं, अंदर से बाहर का जो आउटलेट डोर था वो बंद कर दिया है, और क्या है ना. तो चोर डोर के अंदर और बाहर है ना. तो देन द पुलिस वन टोल्ड मी समथिंग which was so interesting. He told me 12 o'clock by this time, midnight, and our whole community was very much excited, that somebody is inside, we caught them red-handed. How many are there, how fierce are there. Some people were practicing their gyms, and some people were practicing karate moves and all that, and some people were taking one more peg, and that they are going to so this was all happening in our mohalla actually. And so the police told me that अरे इतना सब हो रहा है तो हमारे आने की क्या जरूरत है भाई, खुद ही सेटल कर लो ना, है ना. It took me 1 hour to request him to please come, है कि नहीं. अच्छा ठीक है हम कर लेंगे, लेकिन आपके हस्त कमलों से सिग्नेचर नहीं होगा तो कैसे होगा. बोले वो सब तो ठीक है लेकिन ना. So finally 2 o'clock they landed. So the point is, many times if we interface the working of India, we see that there is where is the it is all so amazing actually, it is wonder striking. And so now with these statistics in mind, now similarly we may have many such experiences of how things happen here and how things don't happen here, I mean, or whatever happens here, and how you have to transcend all kinds of expectations here and there. So the point to note is this, that with all this, the most wonder striking aspect is that India is still advancing. So the point is that, if we try to say that this is India is still advancing, we may easily say it all happens only in India. Yes. So the point is that with all these extraterrestrial, eccentricities, still our nation is advancing. Why? So just by living in this subcontinent, you can have full faith that God exists. Because God exists, everything is working here. Everything goes here and there and all, still sometimes things come on track. This is called as acintya shakti. This is called as acintya shakti. Srila Prabhupada gives the example of the ocean. Just like ocean, a huge water body, on its own the ocean cannot move, but it is a superior force, the air, which moves the ocean. So we may see the ocean waves rocking, but the ocean waves are just the immediate cause. So we may see the ocean waves which are overpowering. They are flooding. They are increasing the entropy of the imbalance. The ocean waves are creating havoc on the shore. But the ocean waves are the immediate cause. A subtler cause behind is the air, the superior force. So if we trace that, okay, what makes the airs move and what makes that move and what makes that move, if we keep questioning that and researching, we will come to the point of the ultimate cause. The inferior energy has no power to move unless the superior energy is involved. So that's why the first paradigm of knowledge is to understand and accept the fact that God is the ultimate cause. What we see and what we experience is only the immediate cause. Even if we work on it, set it right, because it is the immediate and therefore the intermediate cause. Therefore, tampering with the immediate or the intermediate cause can only create certain transient effects. It cannot solve the problem. To solve the problem from the root, we have to go to the root cause, the ultimate cause, which is God. We have to go to the root cause. Just like in the field of quantum mechanics, the quantum scientists uh, have a very loud overwhelming cry, and this loud overwhelming cry is that they say that now with all our advances into quantum mechanics, what we can explain is simply patterns of how it works. Subatomic particles, how do they work? We can explain patterns. What we are able to do in terms of what we call as advancement of quantum mechanics is that we can trace and we can figure out and we can discover more and more patterns about how it works. But if you ask us the question why it works, none of us will be able to answer. They say we don't know why it works. Quantum mechanics can only explain how it works. It can demonstrate that it works, and it can demonstrate how it works, but it cannot demonstrate why it works. So this goes to show that mechanistic science, in all its attempts, reaches only up to the point or reaches only up to the point of the immediate effect. Mostly mechanistic science saturates by the time it reaches the immediate effect. Why? Because the saturates at the time of the immediate effect. Because the reason why is because mechanistic science has its limitations, and with that limitations, the subtle workings of the superior energy, the subtle workings of Mother Nature, and the subtle workings of the spiritual energy of the Lord, which is described as acintya shakti of the Lord. That means that the subtle workings of the Lord as the root cause cannot be understood by the limited purviews of mechanistic science. And therefore, and the second aspect is that to be able to understand and appreciate the subtle workings, one needs to invest faith. One needs to invest faith. To invest faith. So faith is like sowing the seed. If you sow the seed, there is a possibility of the germination happening. There is a possibility of the tree going out. If you don't even sow the seed, Where is the possibility of germination? Where is the possibility of any tree, any structure coming out? That's the point. So if you sow the seed, just like you see modern day education. In modern day education, say for example any competitive examination, say for example there is the engineering examination, joint entrance examination. If you get a seat in joint entrance examination, the first thing which you have to do is you have to pay the fees. The fee structure is good enough, substantial. The fee structure is not minimal. It is a lakh a semester or something like that. The first thing is you have to pay the fees. Is it not? Once you get selected. Now you may say, we have not got knowledge. When we get knowledge, we'll pay the fees. That's not how things work. First you pay the fees. Then you work hard. Then slowly you'll start getting knowledge and slowly you'll start getting the grades. And gradually you become qualified engineer. The same thing works for medical profession. The same thing works for management competitive examination IIMs. The moment you get admission, you have to pay the fees. Obviously, 2-3 installment, but then the point is that the first installment has to be paid. So faith is nothing but payment of the fees, the investment of the seed. And therefore the point is that we need to understand that we need to accept the existence of the immediate cause, the remote cause, and the ultimate cause, God as the ultimate cause. The Shastras give a beautiful analogy. And Acharyas extend that analogy to the modern day settings. So Srila Prabhupada explains here that just like a train, so given any particular bogie, say the 11th bogie of the train, the 11th bogie is being pulled by the 10th bogie. So the 10th bogie is the immediate cause for the 11th bogie's motion. The 9th bogie or say the 5th bogie or the 4th bogie is the remote cause. The engine is the ultimate cause, or the engine, or you can say the driver in the engine who's pushing the button. He is the ultimate cause. Is it not? So in the same way, God is the ultimate cause. And therefore, mankind, it is in the favor of mankind to accept the directions given by God. The modern day hedonistic materialistic approach is a very superficial approach. Why it is superficial? Because it only fluffs around the immediate cause. And because it only fluffs around the immediate cause, the patterns which it comes up with or the effects which it comes up with in the modern day world are at best transient. At best it's transient. And mostly it is ineffective. Why? Because it is only accessing the immediate cause. Just like we will see that in the world today there is an explosion of tips and tricks which can give kicks. Is it not? There is an explosion, there is an outburst of tips and tricks. Study tips. Hundreds of YouTube videos you can find, study tips, how to excel in career, how to become the successful entrepreneur, how to crack joint entrance examination, how to crack IAS, how to rock the world. You can find unlimited tips and tricks which can give kicks. Now, similarly, there is an explosion of motivational speeches. So when we interface any such tip, trick, kick, then what happens is that it creates or it ignites a transient wave in us. A wave which is transient. A wave which fades away, is it not? So the point is, you see, motivation is being seen from a superficial aspect. That okay, speak something which excites. I remember one of my brothers. So one day he got a kick that his calling is for a management. He wants to become a management tycoon, and he got that kick. I don't know, maybe uh, uh, yeah, he might have gone through maybe a dozen motivational videos about some successful entrepreneurs or something like that, and therefore he really got that kick. So he got that kick, and he thought that okay, and he made a whole plan. Okay, this 5 months I'm giving CAT exam, and I'm giving that GMAT exam, CAT my GMAT again. So so what he did, the immediate next day, actually, he ordered the full Times coaching material, spent 40,000 rupees, 1,000 rupees something. He got that whole material, everything, purchased the books, he searched everything, made his plan, started writing his resignation, and everything was ready and all that. So, but before posting the resignation, only what happened is that his kick subsided. So because you can order the material, when material takes 1 week to come, like that, and he wanted to talk to his manager now before he files a resignation. His manager was coming back after a week, so before the material came and the manager came back, his kick only got lost, and therefore the meeting with the manager was asking, is everything all right? I mean, do you want something? No, but by that time our tempo is gone. So the point is that you see, why? Because there are so many people who know what to do, but actually to do the things requires attitude. And attitude is built up from character. We need to install positive qualities. Now we need to install positive qualities in our systems. So just because you see the whole purview of the world is simply getting saturated or getting overwhelmed by the immediate causes, what we see is simply the superficial patterns, and therefore our moves are now at best become transient. That's what. At best becomes transient. We see here in IIT itself, every single IITian knows how to crack it, how to rock it, because everyone had rocked in his own at least township or mohalla, or his coaching or his school or something like that. That they have landed up and got admission here in IIT. But there are many IITians here who struggle uh, to get a 6-point CGPA or 60% grade average. There are many of them who really struggle, who have to give some particular course exams 3 times, 4 times, 5 times before they can get a pass grade, P grade. Why is it so? Are they lacking some tips and tricks? It is the attitude which has gone wrong. It is the intrinsic state of the heart, the character which has gone wrong, which has gone distracted, which has gone deviated, which has gone self-destructive, and so on, which has gone on intoxication patterns and so on. So therefore, it's not just wise to remain on a superficial platform. If we do not understand the depths of reality, that beneath the immediate cause is the remote cause, and there is God as the ultimate cause. If you do not understand that, our cures are at best going to be transient. Even when we want to do good to others, that good will be only for a short period of time. Many times people have a heart for social service. Now, social service is a good thing. It's very good because it churns it churns the selflessness, the softness in our hearts. It melts the hardness in our hearts. But now we see that there have been many such cases where people have gone forward to help out, but their help had at best created a transient pattern or a negative pattern. Like say one time, some of our acquaintances were narrating that one of my acquaintances narrating that he came across a social worker, and the social worker was telling that actually what he did is that, for the children in Pune slums, he had set up a big setup of computer education, and he gave all of them very powerful strategic computer education actually, and he gave them desktops, and he gave them broadband connectivity and everything, so that these people can be at pace with the world, and they can actually know how to speed up and pace up with the world or compete with the world. They can have the required artillery and the weaponry. Very good. I mean, it was a good motivation actually. But then this person, he was narrating his incident that he spent years actually training people, and then he was thinking he has done something very good, and and he was feeling satisfied till one day, when he was visiting the same slum areas and all that, and he was trying to understand or evaluate that what changes it has brought in people's life, and to his utter dismay, he found that all his computer education which he had given to people actually, so many of no so the same children whom he had the boys whom he had given this this computer education actually, he found out that an overwhelming percentage of those same children, they were using this broadband and internet connectivity and all to watch pornography, and it was such a blow that yes, he wanted to give them some material so that they can actually from the resources of the internet they can learn, and they can compete with others in terms of, okay, whether it was giving some government clerical examinations or banking examinations or anything like that. But lo and behold, what happened? So this is the point actually. One of my friends used to narrate an episode that when he would come out of the school, he would see a poor beggar, and he would feel great joy, giving his pocket money to this beggar. Till one day, he explored when he was walking by and walking past, the back lanes of the school, that he was seeing this beggar. He was smoking cigarettes, and he was drinking the desi wine. So the point is that, you know, therefore we have to evaluate everything from the perspective of the root cause or the ultimate cause. So yes, we were also wanting to actually educate now poor children, tribal children. So we came across an ex-IAS officer, and he was telling us actually, an IPS officer, an ex-IPS officer, and he was telling us actually. So he told us actually, why don't you come and help in my own native village actually in Tarkeshwar. People's condition is very miserable, and I said, why not? So he took us there. We went there. So when we went there, we saw actually there was a huge big government school, 4-story, 3-storied building, 3-storied building actually, a huge government school. And we saw that school had chemistry lab, biology lab, physics lab with apparatus, equipments, everything. So we saw there was this huge school actually, and then I really started asking him that, you see the point that it seems that there is a very big government school in your village, so there are facilities here. Then what kind of help you want from us? Because we can give help in the education field. I mean, that's what we like. That's where we can expertise. I mean, we can do that part of help nicely. Education, and then that will lead to them getting employment, and and we can teach them some values and character. We can teach them from Gita. I mean, this is where our strength lies actually. But I'm seeing that there is a very powerful school here. So what kind of help you want? You want us to teach them maths? You want us to teach them English? You want us to teach them computers? What do you want us to teach them? No, or are you looking for skill? Like welding, forgery? Then we may not be the most expert people to do it. So what really do you want? Then he started narrating the whole case. He said, yes, the government has invested money. There is a huge amount of facility. So one thing is that yes, he said that the school is there, but the students don't go to school. So yes, one of the aspect he was mentioning, yes, that the teachers and the staff, they are not that committed and all. But then there was a bigger problem than this which he wanted to highlight. He said here the boys, they have the attitude that they simply want to roam around. Actually, just now outside the school, he was showing me there were so many tents of these youth morchas and all that. Not youth morchas, the children, teenage boys there and all that. He said these people, they don't study. They simply sit around and they while around time. They said before you give English, computer science education and all that, you first teach them Bhagavad Gita. So this was a IPS officer telling us actually, and I really felt it was I really felt moved by what he was saying. He said you first teach them character, you first teach them values. They are spoiling their lives, they are wasting their human lives. So before you give them material education, you first churn about their hearts, do some wear and tear. I mean the maintenance. I mean because of wear and tear, the maintenance. Do some maintenance work, do some cleanup. He said you teach them values, you teach them character so that they become upright. They understand the value of life, they understand the value of the creation. They understand the basic principles of respecting others, respecting humanity, respecting Mother Nature. Uh, so, so that's the point. That from a materialistic perspective, we get diseased to just thinking about the immediate cause. But the immediate cause cannot work out the root cause solutions actually. So therefore, we have to understand that we need to add God in our lives. We need to add God in our lives. So, many times people have a question that okay, if I become too serious in spirituality, or if I become too serious about connecting to God or surrendering to God, how will it affect my material life? Will it sap away my material life? Will it sap away my ambitions? What is going to happen? Sometimes there is an amount of fear. Srimad Bhagavatam explains very powerfully this principle. Srimad Bhagavatam explains that material well-being always follows spiritual well-being. If the spiritual well-being is taken care of, the material well-being is a side effect. But if you only want to take care of the material well-being, you may not even get the material well-being because it is just the immediate cause. Like that. If you can reach out to the ultimate cause, the immediate cause happens by default. But if you just reach out to the immediate cause, the immediate itself may not change. That's the point. Therefore, the best algorithm for life is to surrender, to follow the injunctions of God, to connect to God, follow the visions of God, to act or to make one's activity as an offering to God, to make the goal of our moves the pleasure of God. That's the point. And we have seen on every scale this principle works so powerfully. Every scale this principle works so powerfully. So even something which is even something which is on the material plane, like we have seen here in IIT, because uh, we have value education programs for the IIT students. So many of our say senior IIT students who are in third year, fourth year, many of them offer offer many such sincere students. They offer a good amount of time and energy in helping out others. We have a children's school set up where we are teaching tribal children. So many of them spend a good amount of time helping out okay, the younger first year students, or these small children from rural tribal villages. Many of them travel to these villages, giving them spiritual education, value education, uh, and material education. So it involves a good amount of time that way. So now you may say, okay, but somebody in IIT is already having study pressure, academic pressure, good amount of time. Plus, our principle, the Prabhupada has never taught us, just speak, speak, speak. Prabhupada has taught us uh, follow yourself, preach by your example. So the whole idea of helping out is sharing, that okay, we are practicing in our lives and we share with others what we are practicing. So the whole point is that logistically speaking, it takes a lot of time. I mean, it takes a substantial amount of time. Similar, especially one has to do everything. So we have seen many sincere students actually. So many times we have to keep them balanced. That no, you have to give time for your own studies also, own career also. You have to give a good balance. So, but I have seen actually how the Lord arranges, no, everything so wonderfully in the life of a sincere person. Like one time there was one of our no, very sincere students. So he would spend a lot of time doing organizing camps and then running around here and there. He was outgoing and he would like to cook. He would offer bhoga to the Lord and then he would take for the program and he would arrange programs. He would be running around. He would organize facilities and he was a little weak in giving time to his own studies. And we used to push him to become balanced, that no, you have to, but then he was not. So now what had happened was that he was now there was his final year. It was the time of his placements, and then he was really fearful because he had not studied that much, and even though we tried, but still he had not studied that much. He was a little unbalanced, that way to say. So despite all our efforts, he had not given that much weightage. So he was a little fearful actually what to do, and all that. Anyways, we were encouraging him. We were trying to uh, help him out in what are the most important things you need to pick up. Whether for a software job or for his own core job. So he's trying, and then one very good company which was here in IIT went to the campus placement actually. So they started. So So they started evaluating him. So now there were 2-3 rounds of interviews which he had to go through actually, and then so they started asking him questions about his likings, and then and they started asking him many practical questions about various aspects of life. And because he was so much absorbed in running around and organizing camps, events, so he knew many such things, many such facts like that, because you when you really bargain with people, you interact with people, so okay, how how food breaks cement, construction, so many aspects, so he had a lot of practical insight in that way. And these people were just questioning him, tweaking him here and there. They were asking him about his likings, they were asking about his taste, and he was speaking out. So in the interview, these people didn't ask a single technical question, and the interviews they didn't ask him a single technical question, and he was weak technically, like that. But then they just asked. So and this devotee was surprised actually. He got the job. He didn't understood how, why. The only thing he could do was he came back, thanked Krishna, and that he got a good job. He got a plus 10 lakh package, starting job in Bangalore. So that is the point. So now later he was asking the HRs and all that, what did you like in my profile, this that. So they could and then yes, in churning out they could understand, okay, he is helping out other fellow students, he's helping out children, and he's talking about values, he's churning out various perspectives. So they gave him a job. Later he was asking the HR when he went after his joining the company, and they were explaining that actually they were looking for a role actually. Then they had, the company had so many different kind of products actually, and they were looking for somebody actually who is enthusiastic to catch up any such product the company makes, and pick up knowledge about that product quickly, and then actually help out with their customers, go work out with them, explain to them, understand their problems and explain the product. So that whole thing required a mindset of a versatile mindset, a mindset which can catch many things here and there, and that's what exactly what this devotee did. So he didn't knew that he had preparing for this profile. He didn't knew that he applied for this profile. He didn't know what's happening actually. But Krishna knew that. So this devotee was doing a sincere service to Krishna. But then Krishna was preparing his skill set, right cut out for a good placement. So in this way we can understand that yes, when you actually add in the remote cause, when you do things from the perspective of Krishna, that yes, the spiritual life comes first, and then everything else revolves around it as an offering to it. You'll see everything flourishes in such a powerful way. So there are many such examples like that which I can narrate, which we have seen happening. So yes, Krishna explains in 9:10, Maya adhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunana konteya jagat viparivartate. So this material nature, the Lord explains, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving things. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and narrated again and again. So the Lord explained that Sarva Yonishu Murtaya Sambhavanti. All these yonis are born by birth in this material nature. Asam Brahma Mahad Yonir Aham Bija Pradapit. So the word which we can describe from English dictionary point is inconceivable, and the word which Shastras describe is called as acintya shakti. And therefore, a true seeker of meaning and fulfillment in life should accept the principle of acintya shakti. So that's where faith comes in play. So we were making that point initially, that faith is like the investment, paying the admission fees. So therefore, the acceptance of the fact that Achintya Shakti exists is a prerequisite for us to actually gain footing and go further. Achintya Shakti has to be accepted. Srila Prabhupada explains that if we do not understand or if we do not accept Achintya Shakti, we can never understand the origin of life. Now scientists see that life comes from chemicals. Prabhupada had a simple question. Prabhupada would say that, okay, you say life comes from chemicals. Can you answer where does chemicals come from? Where do chemicals come from per se? Actually, the chemicals come from nature. Prabhupada would say, whose nature? Where is the arrangement? If you look at the world around us, Prabhupada said that you see a simple example. Prabhupada said a simple example of a lemon tree. So the lemon tree, so many lemons come every year, every season, hundreds of lemons. That means the lemon tree is producing so much quantity of citric acid in biodegradable containers. And Prabhupada say, you see why? Because lemon tree has life in it, and therefore that life is producing chemicals. So Prabhupada would always say it's not that life is coming from chemicals. The fact which we can statistically see and observe is that chemicals come from life. Chemicals come from life. We see a living person, just like the secretion of a living person. From our body, so much sweat comes out. This is not. So it is chemicals which come from life. And Prabhupada would say that just like my body produces sweat, similarly, the sweat which God's body produces is called as ocean. Because God is huge. Therefore, God is producing the sum total of all the chemicals which we know of. the storehouse, the sum total of all the chemicals, the universal set, because that's God. That's coming from that's coming from the super powerful person. That is God. The super powerful, all complete, all absolute personality. That's God. So this is acintya shakti. This is called as mystic power. This is called as acintya shakti. In fact, here we can learn a very important lesson. The lesson is that simply by observing ourselves, we can understand that the mystic power, the potency of the mystic power is there in us also. The potency of the mystic power is there in us also. We can just observe ourselves and we can now understand. So now when it comes to the certain basic, like say for example, no, if you look at our own body, do we know how our nails are growing? Every week we see they grow. A month or 2 weeks we don't cut them. We see they have grown substantially. So how do they grow? We have no idea of what's really happening. We have no dashboard where we can see, okay, now the growth vectors, this is the acceleration, this is the double differentiation, the time variation is going like this. We just have no idea. How the food we eat gets digested, we simply have no idea. We simply eat. And what happens after that? So there is no dashboard experience in front of us that we really feel, okay, now the food in this stage, the digestion has reached here, this much percentage of it has been discarded, this much bile has been secreted, and now this much no, we simply have no idea what's happening. Is it not? So that means, you see, much of our life is based on acintya shakti. Actually, there is mystic power within us. Only thing is that our mystic power is limited, and when it comes to God, the mystic power is overwhelming. So just by observing around us, we can understand that there are aspects which we don't know of, like that. Now, what to say of an individual? We can say, okay, my knowledge is limited, so we don't know. But what to say of us? Even scientists don't know many things. What is happening in our own body? Like, say for example, the simple thing, how our eyes perceive color. It's a very simple thing. How our eyes perceive color, how they tune to brightness, less brightness, how the color patterns are perceived, what is not perceived, the exact modus operandi, we really have no understanding about it. So similarly, many aspects of our own body we have no understanding about it. Srila Prabhupada explains that actually not only no, the human body has mystic powers, he explains actually that every living being has mystic powers, like that. There is this mystic potency which every living being is showing. Mystic means acintya shakti, which means that we really cannot fathom how it is working. It's beyond our concepts. It's too complicated. It's too intense. We really don't know how it works. But we can use it and make our lives no better. That's what we can do actually. So we can use it. Be grateful about it. Be grateful to God about it. Use it in the right for its right utility, and increment the index of our lives, or the quality of our lives. That's all. So mystic power exists in various animal species as well. Say for example, uh, birds can fly. Now we cannot fly. We need machines to give us a simulation of flying, but we are not actually flying. We are just sitting. The machine is doing whatever it is doing, is it not? So the point is we cannot fly, but for a bird it can fly, is it not? So is it not inconceivable? Is it not mystic power? So It's mystic power, it's acintya shakti. So Prabhupada gives a simple example that you take a needle, you throw a needle in the air, the needle falls down. The needle has so less weight, but it falls down. Whereas a bird is weighing so many pounds, but it never falls down. It just flies. Mystic power. Acintya Shakti. Prabhupada would explain that if you see, no, Prabhupada would explain that, okay, if you see, say for example, if you see uh, water, how many hours we can stay in water? It's very difficult, is it not? But a fish can stay hours and hours and hours in water. So the fish is having that mystic potency. It's mystic potency, mystic power for us, not the fish. But for the fish, it is installed. Now, if you ask the fish, please explain what is the working mechanism, she cannot. It is not. But it's just using it. So, this is Achintya Shakti. In this way, in simple things in this world, we can see Achintya Shakti. A cow is having mystic power. What is the mystic power? Achintya Shakti. Cow eats grass and gives milk. Can we imitate? No. Or what to say of imitating? Can we create a machinery? You put grass on this side, milk will come out on the other side. No, is there any demonstration? We have come to the apex of the technology explosion. Where is this small machine? Okay, you are putting grass on one side. How nice, no? You put grass on one side, milk will come on the other side. But it's just not possible for us. So, but this is existing in nature, is it not? This is Achintya Shakti. So different living entities have different Achintya Shakti. Prabhupada explains. Man eats food and he gets energy and all. Woman eats food and when she has a child, then she eats food and that food gets converted to milk. Man cannot do that. There is Achintya Shakti. There is mystic power actually. So different. Now this brings us to the point that these potencies are basically coming from the most potent person, who is the remote cause, who is the ultimate cause, and fragments of these potencies are installed in different life species. It is God who has installed. So the sum total of all these mystic potencies is God. And He has installed these fragments of potencies in different kinds of people, in different kinds of living entities. And therefore, by simply observing the potencies in various kinds of plant kingdom, animal kingdom, in various life forms, we can really see the hand of God. That yes. So therefore, we need to understand that yes, success in life or a meaningful life or victory in life is not just built by standing upon the mountain of one's own ego. But one can be much more powerfully successful if one accepts the simple aspect of Achintya Shakti. That Krishna is providing this Achintya Shakti, that Krishna has provided his potency, he has laid out this potency everywhere. And now if we want to do something meaningful, the Lord is going to empower us more and more. So just like parents, the basic needs of everyone are taken care of, but somebody who is more deserving will be given more and more and more. That's how we have to understand that we need to align by the instructions of God. We need to align by the instructions of God. So by the way, even if we see things from a material point of view, we can understand this principle that actually without accepting this aspect of Achintya Shakti, some sort of mystic power, without just without just not tapping most of the package of things, we just cannot move, we just cannot advance, we just cannot even live. From a material perspective, we can see this happening. Just like, let us take a few examples to understand this point. Now we are only talking from our day-to-day life perspective to just get a glimpse of that. Yes, this aspect of the accepting acintya shakti is the way to advance. Without it, we will be simply crushed and pulverized, crushed. It's just dark and dreary without it. There is no motion without it actually. So just like, say for example, let's take a few examples from our day-to-day life that will give us this appeal that yes, this thought process which the Shastras are talking about, this faith aspect, this aspect of acintya shakti, of the acceptance of acintya shakti which is being talked about, is the way, the art of living, the art of succeeding in life. Otherwise, we will fall apart, we will break apart. Now, say for example, like say for example, software engineers. Okay, let's take the example software engineers. So now software engineers actually, now software engineers, uh, so now as a software engineer actually, one of the key things which is taught to software engineers is that okay, you know the language, you may know the a coding language, Python or Java or Java Enterprise Edition or uh, a .NET or so one may know any such kind of language. No, there are these various languages. Now, then they say that okay, if you know the language, given any problem, you can write a solution code for it. Is it not? Then the next level of teaching, the next higher level of teaching for a software engineer is that you just don't have to know how to code, but now you need to understand how to code in the most efficient and optimized ways. So therefore, one learns algorithms which can actually optimize the coding and which can be a less resource consuming, which can be more time effective. And then actually, as a person starts becoming professional, then he is given an interface to what is called as frameworks. And it is said, okay, these frameworks are a collection of the most efficient codes which have been put all together just to make your lives easy. If one uses those frameworks, one will be just making a function call, a method call, maybe just using one line of it, but that line is doing a Herculean task, which if one had to do from scratch, one will sweat and foam very badly. So this is framework. Now, so for a normal software engineer, so every language has its frameworks. If you don't use frameworks, your codes are not professional enough, robust enough, scalable enough. Now, every such thing like that, secure enough, and so on. So now this whole framework aspect, using a framework is easy, but to understand how it is built, it's a lot of understanding of hundreds of people intelligence which has gone into those development, years and years of development which is developing and all that. You simply use it. So what is that whole thing? That whole thing is like acintya shakti, is it not? A mystic power, and we are simply using it. One is simply grateful for it, okay, and using it, and it is giving person salary, his promotions, the salary what he wants. That's it. Is it not? So if you reject this aspect, then you cannot do anything about it. Is it not? Similarly, let's take another example, the example of research. See, in the research field, one of the prime things which researchers evaluate in any particular research, like somebody comes up with a research paper, then the reviewers, the editors, their key point of evaluation is that okay, this research, obviously research means some innovative idea, something innovative, something extra, something which has not happened like that. But then one of the key aspects which they want to evaluate is that how, whether this something innovative is is it built up on how robust the how this new thing, this innovation, is it built up on how broad how broad is the foundation of it on the existing research, how much of the existing research this innovation is using. So that acts like a foundation, and if they find that this foundation is not much, then this innovation is no, that is, then this there is no difference between the innovation and fiction storytelling. It's not research then it's a fiction, sci-fi fiction storytelling, is it not? So that's the point. So they want to ensure that it is built upon the existing technologies. Like so, in there are these existing techniques, and people have developed it, and to use it is easy, but to come up with to develop it from first principles, impossible actually. So all the whole big thing is for us, is it not? But one can be grateful for it, use it, and get his paper published and become a better researcher. This exists in every field, even in medicine. Say for a doctor, say for example somebody is a radiologist. Now all a radiologist has to understand is the various kinds of diseases he has to memorize. Okay, what all kinds of diseases can happen, the anatomy, the disease, and he has to understand that okay, and then he is given these machines. He's given MRI, fMRI, he's given the CT scan machine, he's given the X-ray machine, the PET scan, and all that. Now, all what he has to understand is how to interpret the image which comes out of this machine, how to take a proper image, and how to interpret that image. So, if you ask a radiologist, he will say that okay, he knows how to map the shades, the color patterns of the image, of the grayscale image and the shades of grey to the known disease patterns which he has, and that's all what he wants to focus, is it not? That's all what he's taught. He's taught usage of the machine and he has taught interpretation of the output. How the MRI is working, what are the principles on which the MRI is based upon, that is none of his concern. That is mystic power, acintya shakti for him. And if he says, no, I will not accept acintya shakti, I will develop everything from first principles, then probably you have to go to some remote village in India, there only you can practice, is it not? Nobody in the world is going to accept, is it not? Similarly, the person who developed the MRI, or who are making, the companies, the research which is happening in the field of diagnosis, or spectroscopy. So the spectroscopist will not have much knowledge about various disease pattern, whether it is a virus disease, interstitial, it is alveolar, it is bacterial, what type of infection it is, They have no understanding about that. They understand a different set of principles. For them, the usage is a black box. I mean, for them, the usage is acintya. And they understand some principles of how physics works, how matter interacts with light, how magnetic field interacts with particles. That's what they will know about. So the whole point is that in the world, to function anyways, we can only function on a very limited area. The other area we have to accept whatever is available, the state of the art. And we may not know how it works. The whole thing is acintya shakti for us. So that's the point. The acceptance of acintya shakti is the way to advance. If you think you are so smart you can break and explode everything, then that means most likely person has got some person needs a mental checkup. That's all. Yeah, it's just not. The person needs a mental checkup. So similarly, now what is the so why when it comes to life, why is the hesitation in accepting the mystic power of the Lord? Why is the acceptance? Especially today's world, we are very clear. We want to we are very we are very meticulous about giving the proper rights of proprietorship, acknowledging the proprietors. So there are, if you see, there are these copyright laws and everything. Even if you use some words which are framed by somebody else, then you can be sued because it's a plagiarism case. Yeah, you cannot even cheat some lines from the other person's writings or articles or thoughts without acknowledging him, giving him a due citation, due credit, and all that. This is the world which we are living in. But why do we only keep all these concepts to one's professional life? Why cannot we so we should bring this concept. We are using the aspects, the gifts which are given by material nature. These are inconceivable for us, beyond us, beyond us actually. And also, why not acknowledge God and accept it in that light actually, and accept it in that light? Because when we acknowledge, then we can accept it holistically. When we accept it holistically, we can have an all around growth and development. That's the point. We can have that all around growth and development. That is so. So this is acintya shakti, and we have to understand that. So you see, now comes the point that okay, now comes a very important dimension. The important dimension is this: that static arrangements or a one-time arrangements are not everything. Static arrangements are not everything. The person who has arranged static arrangements, in a dynamic sense, that person can much more. And that is how we understand the meaning of relationship. So it's not about, okay, God has given us this wonderful world, let's thank God and do whatever we want to do. No, the point is all that is static arrangement. When we follow the instructions of Lord, when we revive relationship with God, then in a dynamic way, God can so many other things which are not provided statically, is it not? Like if a mother has to give some static arrangements, say for example, if you are living some 3,000 miles far off from the mother, then she may send, say a package, maybe once in 6 months she may send a package which is having laddus and which is having matri and everything, and we may eat for 1 month, and relish it. But if we are staying with the mother, uh, now suppose if we pick a fight with the mother, she won't send, is it not? But if you are staying with the mother, every day she can feed, is it not? And every now and then she can feed so many sweets, she can make so many things. So that is called as relationship. So the concept of relationship is much more powerful concept than simply acknowledging a static arrangement. So now when we are talking about the static arrangements, you have to understand that in a dynamic arrangement, the revelations are going to be much more. That's why we need to awaken our relationship with God. So the person who is supplied in a static sense so much, how much the Lord is going to reveal, how much the Lord is going to reciprocate and help us when we want to align to Him. When we want to align to Him. That's why spiritual life marks the beginning of the spiritual life marks the beginning of a phenomenal auspicious phase in one's life, where one can see meaning churning out from everything, when one can unlock every possible deadlock which is appearing here and there, where one can transcend provocations, limitations, and in that way experience or churn out meaning, fulfillment, bliss, and happiness in everything. Simply by accepting and connecting to God, awakening that relationship with God. Thank you. So today, in a sense, we discussed about the two important threads or dimensions of faith. That is, to be successful in life, one needs to understand God as the ultimate cause, and not just saturate or get saturated or overwhelmed by the immediate cause. And second important thread of faith, the dimension of faith we touched upon today was that the art of living, the art of happiness, and the art of success is the acceptance and connectivity to the acintya shakti. And that's why Now, acknowledging and being grateful is the aspect of a static arrangement, but the relationship with God, awakening the relationship with God, ensures that dynamic reciprocation, where we can see one's own life taking a phenomenally auspicious turn. We can take a few questions if any. Okay, so I thank you all for your patient and enthusiastic audience, and we'll meet again uh, next Saturday with yet another interesting, controversial, eye-opening, and intellect awakening uh, discussion and probe. Thank you. Can you tell them they can end the session?